Good afternoon, everyone. This is Arthur Joannick and Mathieu Kaola from Deltaee. Welcome to this Connected Home Service webinar, where we'll be talking about the telco industry in Europe and why we think they could disrupt the connected home energy market. So this webinar will be led by myself, Arthur Joannick, who is managing the Connected Home service. I'm a senior analyst at Delta. And by Mathieu Kaola, my colleague here.
Good afternoon, everyone.
As part of our expanding Connected Home team, we have today with us Pierrick Hamon. Pierrick, are you here with us?
Yes, I'm here. So, sorry. Good afternoon to everybody.
Thank you, Pierrick. Pierrick is an independent consultant who we first met when he was still working at Orange, and he has been helping us on this report to better understand the telco business and how they view the connected market. Pierrick, would you like to give a brief introduction to you?
Yes, yes. So basically, you mentioned I've worked in Orange. I've also worked in a number of companies, but mostly in the Orange Group. And lastly, I was in charge of the home line of business, which means what the telcos do on a fixed broadband, on a fixed voice, of course, on TV, on whatever can be done as a generating unit at home. And this was including in particular the work on potentials in terms of energy, in terms of a smart home, of security, etc.
Great, thanks, Pierrick. And as you can see, the other pictures on this slide, this is the rest of our team with John Slow, director at Delta, Maria, another analyst, and some associates, Sue Farnell and Mark Roger, who help us on particular topics when needed. So the webinar will be recorded, so we will put a link on the website of Deltaee after that, so that you can share it with colleagues or watch it again. And we will also put the slides available to you to download. If you have any questions during the webinar, you can use this question box here. And we are monitoring the questions, so we will try to answer all the questions as we go. If we don't have time to do that, we will get back to you afterwards and try to answer these questions by email. So before we get into the deep dive into this, I would like to ask you for a quick question. And the question is, which areas of the connected home do you think telcos will be a significant player in? So you can answer several of these boxes. And so we'll give you a few seconds, probably 10 seconds to do so, to see what you think would be the interesting areas. So far, lots of the attendees have said home automation, monitored security, not so much into energy. It's quite interesting to see that. So we'll give you a few more seconds before we close the poll. And that'll be it. So the results are as follow. Interestingly, and not surprisingly, monitored security is the key area for telcos, you think, in the connected home, together with entertainment. What's really interesting to see is that not many of you think energy will be a key, or telcos won't play a key part in energy. But our role here today is to demonstrate that that you guys are wrong, and that might be actually more for telcos in the connected home energy industry. So we'll close this poll and move on to the key messages of our study that we did around this telco. So Mathieu, would you like to give a few words on this?
All right, thank you, Arthur. Small technical difficulties getting this right slide up, but there we go. So in our study, we got 5 key findings that are showed on the screen there. So first of all, telcos across Europe and also in the US, they are under pressure to find new revenue streams. This is largely due to the saturation and maturity of the telecoms market, the traditional business. And one of the verticals they're looking into is, of course, the connected home, but we can show examples of this already expanding to the connected home energy and also directly to energy through, for instance, retail or resale. Then secondly, telcos have already entered the connected home market en masse across Europe, and many of these have energy-related offerings like smart thermostats, and some examples are more on the energy market side already as well. And thirdly, the likely entry point at the start is going to be security and especially monitored connected home, connected subscription security services. The one advantage many telcos have is that they have the manpower to work in the customer's home, do the installation and potentially also the servicing. And then in the report, we identified in the 3 different types of business models. So the part 4 there. One of them is the B2B connected home platform play that is spearheaded by Deltaee Telecom in Europe, where they want to become the underlying platform for the connected home. Then the second one is the extensive, what we call extensive B2C offerings. There's a lot of these around in Europe. One example is Orange. O2 just launched their connected home offering. These often include products like security, smart thermostats, smart plugs, monitors, sensors, and so forth, so a wide range of products. And then there's the B2C standalone applications in a single vertical. These are usually around security, but we'll also be highlighting some examples from the energy side of things as well today. And then the 5th lesson we found in this study is that while telcos will definitely be a competitor to many of the companies in the connected home space, they will also provide opportunities for collaboration, and we'll try to highlight some of those as well.
Thank you, Matti. So as you can see, there are more opportunities around energy than you guys can think. So before we go on to the detail of the study and the key findings, let me give you a quick introduction to Deltaee. So I guess lots of you actually will know about us, but some won't. So we are a mid-sized research and consulting company based in the UK and with offices in several countries in Europe. Our goal is to really help our clients navigate through the transition of the energy system, which will become more distributed, more decentralized, and more digitalized. And we help companies like energy companies, manufacturers, control companies, new types of companies for us like telcos, insurance, and we sometimes do a bit of work for policymakers or investors. And we will try to help them, advise them on topics that you can see on the left hand side of this slide. Our business model is mostly divided in 2 parts. One is what we call the subscription research services, where we do multi-client work on specific topics. So we will talk a bit more about what the Connectome service is about, but that's one of the many areas that we have subscription services. We do traditional consulting work from small workshops to board-level large consulting projects. And every now and then we run small summits like the Connectome Summit that will happen in March next year. So that's it about us. In this webinar, we'll try to keep it to 40-45 minutes. We will talk about really the findings of this study we just mentioned, which is looking at how telcos might disrupt the Connectome market in Europe. We'll talk about business models, the US versus Europe, and our views on how the future will be. And finally, we'll summarize this and give you a bit more information. So, on the left-hand side of this slide, these are the areas where Deltaee used to work, which is mostly the energy in orange. But the Connectome landscape is much wider than this, and this is why we tend to expand beyond our core expertise to other areas. Recently, we published a blog around why we think energy companies or the energy industry will struggle to win the Connectome battle on its own. And one of the key competitors we identified were actually telcos. And on this graph, we identify in the purple router the areas where telcos are already involved in the Connectome markets in Europe. So that includes energy, as Matti said, some are already offering thermostats or energy monitoring, but that also involves monitored security, peace of mind, and to a wider degree some wearables, entertainment, and others. So I will hand over to Matti now to explain you why we think you should have a close look at what telcos are doing and why this will relate to your business.
Right. Thanks, Arthur. So first of all, it's clear that telcos are interested in the connected home space. This is evident from all the activities that's around in the US by AT&T and Comcast, also companies like in Europe like Orange, O2, and even Dixon's Carphone, for instance. So a lot of activity there. And secondly, what advantage these telcos have compared to, for instance, like connected home startups, that they already have an existing customer base they can engage with. So they don't have to fully get new customers. They just need to sell additional products and services to their existing customers. And also these telcos, a lot of these telcos are very large international corporations, and thus they have the financial capabilities to compete in the market, launch large-scale marketing campaigns if needed. And then fourthly, the telco competency around connectivity, it is very much applicable to the connected home as well. So while telcos, they're used to working with stuff like routers, but things around that, working with connected home products, it's not very much different. So they would have a lot of the capabilities of helping customers with troubleshooting or fixing issues. And number 5, many of the telcos, they're used to working in the home. So they have installers that come into the home, install your broadband or router. And this could be also extended to the connected home. Many of the telcos, they don't have their own installers, but they have a wide existing network of installers. And this is something a lot of the companies in the connected home space don't have.
Pierrick, is there anything you think should be worth adding to Matti's points?
Well, no, it's absolutely clear that telco will go into this field, in the whole field, including energy. And the reason is first that it is vital for them, so they are looking for growth today. The mobile and the fixed activities are not growing anymore, and they have not that many avenues. Connected home as a whole is an important avenue. The second point is that there is a question of customer value, because they have a customer base, and the value of the customer base might be increased, of course, by selling a smart home, because it bears revenues by itself, but it's also because it brings more loyalty to their base for the fixed and mobile activities products. So this is what they call value of convergence. There is converging with a smart home brings a lot of value to the core business existing before smart home. So for that reason, telcos will be for sure big players in the field. The question is when they will start. Another reason which is extremely important is they have strengths. And Matti mentioned that a bit. So they are service providers, they sell, they install, they care, they support. And all these things are critical for the customer, because the connected home, the obstacles to the connected home penetration today is mostly that customers are afraid of the complexity and they want someone to take care. And so this care level, this service provider level is something absolutely crucial, and telcos are very legitimate there. So yes, so I would clearly recommend that power utilities in particular consider that telco will go there, and then after that it's a question of rather competing or partnering, but it's a real question.
Thanks, Pierrick. We already have a few questions coming from you guys. One of them is who or which are the prominent, dominant connected home platforms? One of them is, have you studied utilities going to telcos? The answer is yes, and we will actually look at this in the future slides coming up.
Yeah, and so, we'll be coming back to the first question of, is there going to be, do we believe in a dominant telco platform? That would be one of the findings in one of the last slides of the presentation today.
So very good questions indeed. So before we get to answer these questions, this is the kind of table of content that was provided in the report to our Connected Home subscribers. The first part of the report was to look at the state of the telco business in general and why they are interested in Connected Home. Second, we look at the US telco activities in the Connectome market and how this compares with the European ones. So in the third part, we looked really at the key activities from telcos in Europe. What do they do, what business models they use, etc. In the fourth part, we look at the case studies, some of the case studies like Dixon's, O2, Orange, really what they are trying to achieve now, what they are doing, and what the future might look like for them. And finally, we looked at what we believe as Delta will happen and the implications on the energy sector, and the utility industry, and other parts. So handing over to Matti for this part, where we started to really look at the US market versus the European one. So it's really important to understand what the US market started with.
All right. So in the US, the Comcast and AT&T, those are the two big players. Comcast was really the company that was ahead of the curve, was driving the market forward, and now they have, considering that they started a bit earlier, they now have around 700,000 customers, and AT&T Digital Life, they have been catching up, but they still have a bit less, around 500,000. Both of these companies, they started very much at a regional level, so they launched their products in only a few markets and then have gradually been expanding across the US to new states and are becoming more and more almost, now they are not available at every state, but are almost now becoming pretty much national in the US. For both companies, the key aspect they started with was connected home security. And there is traditionally in the US, there's a much higher penetration of security products. So this was a natural starting point for the telcos. And they felt that this was a business they could disrupt. And a key thing they were focusing on was reducing the upfront cost of these systems. And historically, they had 4 or 5 year contracts, long contracts, where the cost of the initial cost could be spread out over a long time in a contract. And also these companies, both of these companies, they have been playing around how to present the offers. For instance, on the highlight offer, you can see for Comcast, it's $19 per month, but that $19 is only $19 for the first year and then goes up after that. So they are presenting these offers in a quite often in a way that the rates go up longer in the contracts. What both of these companies, they started out with wide range of packages. You have a lot of different packages you come up with. Now both have been simplifying their offerings. Comcast only offers two different packages, and AT&T offers 3 packages. If the customer wants to, they can buy additional products on top of these service packages, but they both have found that it makes sense to simplify the offering rather than have a plethora of different packages which customer can get confused by. And also, while these companies have not been directly involved in energy, they offer, of course, smart thermostats and energy controls, but Comcast has also been having a partnership with Sirius Energy. They have a program called Energy Rewards. And in this, if the customer signs up with Sirius for their utility contract, they will get a bonus of $25 for Comcast. And then also they will get other perks like three months of a TV package, including channels like HBO. Or if they sign up for the Xfinity Home package, they can even get a free smart thermostat. So they're starting to venture more into the energy side as well. And also a more direct involvement in energy is that Comcast currently offers in partnership with Sunrun, they offer installation of solar PV to their house, to their customers' roofs. And this is done also in a manner where there's no upfront cost. Actually, Comcast is willing to pay you $600 to install the solar PV on your roof. But this, of course, comes with a catch that you're tied to a 20-year contract for a power purchasing agreement or rental agreement. But that is very much already in the energy space and disrupting the energy value chain there.
Thanks, Martin. Comparing this to European companies involved in the Connect the Home, I draw this table to really understand the 3 criteria that leads to understand why companies are successful and get customer traction. One is the time that the company has learned in the market. So it's obviously easier to be 5 years in the market to have learned, etc., rather than just starting to launch. The level of commitment of the company in the market is really important to define the success of it. And finally, if the company got it right technologically, or if it's properly structured internally, etc. So that's something that's less easy to measure and that we give our views on. But we think it's an important factor to be successful. So in terms of the the utilities in Europe, the three major utilities, British Gas, Eneco and RWE, in the Connectome, have respectively 300, 250 and over 100,000 customers. For British Gas, I think the level of customers they have is because they have been in the market for quite some time now. They have learned, they are interviewing customers, they are really trying to figure out the best ways to market the products, to bring the next devices to the market, etc. And their level of commitment is really, really high. They are investing over £500 million at the group level to this market. So it's really something they want to make happen. And finally, we think they got it right, especially the way they are structured internally, because they have set up their separate Hive startup. It's a fun place to work for. New developers, smart people are joining the company, and therefore that's where, when you attract talent, this is where you can actually be successful. Eneco has done a similar approach in the Netherlands with a much smaller market, but with some good penetration. And again, they just acquired QB. They really want to expand in Europe. They are partnering with NG in Belgium. So again, we think they got it right on that aspect. RWE, though, has much more struggle because of the high cost of its packages, and therefore we use the word debatable for showing that their platform might not be the right one in terms of getting customer traction. But there are also the facts that within RWE there are lots of group problems and lots of reorganizations. In terms of the European telcos, so Deutsche Telekom is quite unique as it's an enabling platform that others can use, and they are looking for partners like utilities and telcos. But will other telcos do deals with them? It's a bit unsure. Some have already decided to do deals with them, like KPN in the Netherlands, and most of them will regard Deutsche Telekom as a competitor because it's also a telco. Deutsche Telekom also has the advantage in Germany to be able to roll out Connectome routers, but again that's specific to Germany where we have most of the market, and it would be unlikely that they can replicate the same model outside Germany. Now there are other telcos. The problem is that unlike the US, the entry point is very different in Europe. In the US you have maybe 20% penetration of monitored security. In Europe it's much lower. In some countries it's just a few percent. So the entry point is not as obvious in Europe for them, and customers are not willing to pay the same price for interactive Connectome security as in the US, and therefore European telcos will struggle to get the price down to a willingness to pay for customers. So getting this price down will be really important. That's why we say that the commitment so far is medium to low, because we don't see any telco really aggressive price-wise. You have probably seen the O2 announcement here in the UK with packages for £30 a month, which we think is way too high for customers to buy at significant volumes. So again, there are really debates around whether telcos have the rights to play in the energy part of the Connectome and whether they are ready to do so. We think in the future they will be, and we'll explain why in a minute. So in terms of the business models that European telcos use for the Connectome market, Matti will be giving you an overview of our the model, the structure we use to categorize these telcos.
So on the left-hand side, on the blue background, you can see the business models we highlighted in some of the earlier slides around the key findings. And then on the middle, there's our star rating from not likely to very likely on how likely we think these business models to be successful. So we start off with the B2B connected home platform. That's the play, as mentioned earlier, headed by KiwiCon. As Arthur mentioned already, there's some problems there in terms of them being a telco and others seeing them as a competitor. Also, there's the big question, can someone like Deutsche Telekom or other telcos for that matter compete against the tech giants of Apple's, Google's, Amazon, Samsung? Our view is that this is not very likely, and also considering what kind of traction other platforms, these tech giant platforms are much more customer facing, also often have interaction with exciting entertainment features. So we think these platforms are a much stronger place than the telco platforms. In terms of the B2C offerings, we think this is the area where it's most likely that telcos will be successful. These wide-ranging, often bundled connected home offerings. This is a natural expansion in our view of the traditional telco quad play model. And is so having the router, the internet, the mobile, then bringing connected home products to the home would seem like a natural expansion. And it is really something, I think, where we could see interesting products. O2 is now trying, in our view, at the moment seems like the pricing isn't right there, but there are other loads of telcos that are looking into this, and I think there's going to be a few telcos that get the offer right. And then thirdly, there are the standalone single applications. So in security, some telcos might have success. Some companies like Movistar in Spain are trying this, and there are some in the Nordics as well. Most of these are focused around the security side of things. There are some interesting applications, the energy side of things, and I think this yet remains to be seen. But the problem with security is that at the moment, the revenue structure isn't really proven. The willingness to pay for monitored security in Europe has traditionally been lower than in the US, and the cost structure of monitored security and the revenue you get from it hasn't been, the business case hasn't been there yet. But with all these kind of new innovations coming out, it's like all these new innovative products coming out, like Piper and those kind of products, these could be combined with monitoring features that could make this successful. So we are right in the middle there for that. And then fourthly, there's the grayed out business model, which hasn't been proven, is where telcos could act as an enabler for the connected home. They could, for example, partner with a utility and offer the installation of the products, because a lot of the utilities don't have the manpower to do this, or they could even offer other services like customer service around for the connected home products they're offering. But this is at the moment also very unproven, and we're not sure that the economics of this would add up even. So this is quite unlikely to happen at the moment.
Pierrick, do you have a view regarding these 3 or 4 business models that happen in Europe, and from your experience, what do you think? Where do you think the market will go?
For sure, the model 1 is a very specific model. Deutsche Telekom with Kivicon is fighting against people like Google, Samsung, Alarm.com, Amdocs, and so on. And it's a product business more than a service business. The second and the third are about service business. My conviction is that telcos will only go for the second, because if they start with the third, it will be on monitored security, which has not started really in Europe. Also, it started in Ireland about 7 years ago, before IoT was spoken as IoT. And in Austria also about 5-6 years ago with a big success, but they stopped the activity. But now I believe one day they will start with monitor security. But as soon as they start with monitor security, they can sell and upsell very easily application in the other field of aging, in energy management, in complement to entertainment, so these kind of things in the smart home. So they will go immediately to the second level, the second model. So that's the model where they will go. One say I would complete Matty's presentation, if I may, Matty, is that yes, it's an extension to the quad play, but also mobile-only companies might play there to go into connected home, even if they don't provide the fixed broadband line, because they can place and they can use the existing router and work with connected home, as they say, over the top of the product. It's like in utility company, you have a power line. The power line, you can make a lot of things without bundling it with providing the power line. So you don't need to provide also the fixed broadband line to bundle it with connected home. So you can do connected home if you are a mobile company only, and so many telcos will go, and this will be on the model 2 for sure.
Great, thanks Pierrick for sharing your views. So here we draw a map of some of the key activities of European telcos in the connected market, and highlighting which ones are business model 1, 2, or 3?
Yeah, I think generally the main message here is just there is a lot of activity going on around Europe already. So as you can see, most of the whole of Western Europe is pretty much lit up, and there are telcos active in space. As Pierre mentioned, most of them are around the second business model, around the extensive B2C offerings. These would be companies like Orange, SFR, Swisscom, and so forth, and KPN now on the Kivicom platform, for instance. But there are also other interesting examples on the single verticals, one of the Movistar I mentioned earlier, and then around the energy side there's telco. And then the only B2B platform that there is at the moment is the Kivicom platform. I think overall the message is that there's a lot of activity going on, and I think if we did this 1 or 2 years later, there'd be even more companies here and even more countries lit up. So the space is really active from the telco side. The interest is there.
Yeah, and to answer the question on whether we studied utilities going to telcos, the answer is yes. We actually draw a similar map that's not in this slide deck, but with companies like SSE in the UK already offering energy and broadband, with companies like EWE in Germany, which has customers in both energy and broadband, and trying to understand really who is doing what, like Orange in Poland offering also energy, and how this relates to the connector market. So now you were 6% only to consider energy as one of the key areas for telcos. We are trying to prove here that there are lots of ways that telcos could actually enter the energy market. On the first part of this slide here, we talk about energy resale, like becoming an energy retailer, and doing some automation, arbitrage, or offering flexibility and switching services to customers. For example, on this there is Dixon Scarfon, who announced this year the launch of their Connectome platform. And what they will do a lot of things, but one of them is around trying to identify which appliances in your home are connected and which ones that are not. Every time you have a problem, you can use the customer service in different levels with answering simple questions like how does it work and how can I make it work, to having a call to the call center and helping you, or also sending someone to help you fix the problem. And on that side as well, Dixon Scarfon recently acquired a switching service for telco, for broadband. Then that service also has an energy part as well. So it could be that in the future, companies like that could help you be at the center of your home and automatically switch you from one utility to another. Matti, do you want to say a few words about Tico and Swisscom?
So yeah, Tico is a subsidiary of Swisscom. They have developed a control for residential electric heating appliances, primarily heat pumps. This device allows the heat pump to be turned off remotely based on price signals in the market, and the flexibility can then be monetized in the demand response market. How the Tico business model works is they partner up with utilities. They have several partners across Switzerland, and the consumer gets the heating control at a subsidized price of €100 and also the Tico app that comes along with it. But the utility keeps the value of the demand response. So the customer gets a subsidized product and the utility gets the value of the flexibility. At the moment, Tico has less than 10,000 residential customers in Switzerland, but it already has a lot of partners in the utility sector. They are currently expanding the number of partners they have. They're also integrating other sides of the energy puzzle into it. They now announced a partnership with Sonnen Energy to do energy storage. So then the Tico would be combined with energy storage, and this solution will be rolled out in Switzerland in Q3 of this year, later on. And also, they're now looking to expand geographically, so they're looking at other markets like Germany, neighboring markets, to expand this offering. And Tico's willing to, it can be Tico branded product, but they're also willing to be partnering with utilities and be branded as a utility partner behind the scenes.
And to remind you that Tico is actually a subsidiary of Swisscom, and therefore that's a telco move rather than a utility one. On the energy resale, Pierrick, would you like to share your experience of offering energy in Poland through Orange?
Yeah, sure. So Orange Poland had to face about 2 years ago the fact that its two other competitors in the mobile area, one depending on Dutch Telecom and the other one on local ownership, were launching an energy activity, an energy resale activity. So reselling power in a partnership with a utilities company, and doing that for a discount. The point there is that they had observed a wonderful success, even impressive success of Magyar Telecom. Magyar Telecom is a telecom company in Hungary, and Magyar Telecom about 4 or 5 years ago decided to compete on the energy market, buying power on a wholesale base, and using the opening of the market on the distribution side in order to provide the service to customers, to B2C customers. It was a fantastic success. From a margin, a potential margin of 12%, they were able to provide a discount of, I would say, something like 8%. I'm not sure of the figure because no one can be sure of these kind of figures. It's very difficult to calculate, but it's my personal estimate. And with that, they grew their overall revenues by 6%. I mean, from 100 of revenue, they brought the company to 106 in a couple of years. The success was so huge in terms of market share on the market that there was a reaction because the government in Hungary considered that other telcos from Germany in particular, but also utilities from other countries could come into the country and use the opportunity following Magyar. So it was good to cut a bit the margin to decrease the opportunity for them to do that. So the margin has been decreased, so Magyar then decided to sell less, but they kept their customer. I mean, the acquired customers are very profitable, but acquiring new customer was not so good. So what we did in Orange, in Poland, was trying to copy that like other mobile operators of Poland. It's a big country, Poland, 41 million customers, and big potential. So it's starting, and it's bundled. So it's bundled with the mobile. The point is that if you offer, say, a 5% discount on the energy bill, if you put that in a bundle with the mobile, or even with the fixed and mobile sometimes, it represents something like 15% of the telecom side. So it's a significant. When you can provide the energy, saying if you get the energy from us, we make we offer you a 15% discount on the mobile base. So this is the argument. It's like that in all countries in Europe. So the energy bill is higher than the telecom bill. So this kind of effect will be potentially used by many people. Now, in other countries of the Orange footprint, it was not launched because margin condition, regulatory context, and so on, were not ready, but they are progressing in the same direction, like in Hungary or in Poland or in other Eastern countries.
Thanks, Pierrick, for this good explanation. And on the other hand, there are lots of activities from European telcos using the Connectome energy side of things. So we just talked about, for example, the O2 platform being launched last week in the UK. One of the packages, includes a smart thermostat, 2 smart plugs, and a few sensors. So you can see O2 using the same model as the AT&T platform to try to launch something that relates to energy. Kivicon in Germany, most of the packages sold are coming from a set of smart TRVs, so the radiator valves that are connected, and a few sensors. Orange in France is selling a service to utility where they monitor energy or heating data in the house through Connectome devices like smoke detectors, and offer that data to utilities who can then offer a service to their customers, like oh, here that day you consume a lot of heating, although it was between 3 and 6 a.m., so it's not necessary. So next time you might be able to save a bit of energy. So you can see these relationships between telcos and utilities emerging. And Telefonica and Vodafone on the left-hand side are also doing a bit of energy monitoring. So Matti will talk to you a bit from the views that we define from the future, where we think the telcos business model will evolve, especially linked to energy.
Oh, thanks, Arthur. So I'd like to focus your attention on the diagram on the right-hand side. On this, we have the spectrum of telco activity in the connected home. On the the vertical axis, we have the likelihood of this specific activity occurring, and then on the horizontal x-axis, we have the impact we think this will have on energy. So starting on with the blue, the B2C security offerings, we think it's very likely that these will be in the market. They are already in the market. But the impact this will have on the energy sector is going to be quite limited, and there's not a lot of companies in the energy space that are active themselves in the security side of things. But as was the case in the US, the security side of thing can be used as a stepping stone towards the energy side of thing. As well, as Pierre mentioned, we hardly believe that it's unlikely that telcos will remain in one single application around security, but they will likely expand from that to that second B2C wider offering. And this already is including smart heating controls. There's loads of telcos doing this, but then I think it's a bit unclear if this is going to happen, but the impact is going to be big is around the different types of disintermediation. This could be around demand response, like the telco example. This could be energy services brokering, where companies are handling installation and maintenance. This is something the Dixon's platform has a kind of a hotels.com, that kind of Uber-style star rating for installers, and they will recommend you installers to do servicing and so forth. And then potentially, as Arthur mentioned already, could telcos be ones switching your utility? That's one problem potential there. And then all the way, this could include energy retail or resale through a partner, for instance, which we've already. And all of these things will chip away at the traditional energy value chain and the big traditional utility players, for instance.
Thanks, Matti. Pierrick, do you want to make a final comment on these future views?
Yes. Yes, I think that what is important to understand is that customers, in the end, on the connected home business, are looking for peace of mind at using the things. So they, like, today they buy cars. They buy more and more long-term leased with all the maintenance, operation, assistant in case of any issue on the highway. So this is what they want. They want to pay something per month and be completely quiet, reassured that nothing may happen about the car. The same for the home in the future. So they need to have a single provider that provide everything, and with an easy interface, and for that reason, telcos will try to provide in the long run. I mean, 5 years from now, a full home service pack. Dixon's is looking at that also. Utilities are not health specialists, Google-like companies. They are not. They are more either on divide, on health, on their specific domain, and it's not easy to provide the whole, even for a utility, which is a powerful company. That means that if you imagine a full home pack service pack provided by one player, and telcos will compete for that, the question after that is whether they will be competing with for example, power utilities, or if there is a possibility of partnering. I've worked with most of the European telcos and US telcos, Canadian telcos, and they very often are willing to cooperate rather than compete, because they don't want to reinvent the energy world, but they cannot afford to avoid taking care of doing something in energy so that they have a complete pack. So the question now on the utility side is rather partner or compete with telcos and understanding what is the value of the two positions. And a wrong choice might be dramatic in certain countries, might be very positive, and the right choice might be extremely positive also. And it depends on the country, the context, the partnership, and this kind of things.
Thanks a lot, Pierre, for that. So just to summarize the few key points of this, we really understood through that study that that telcos need to generate new revenues, and that Connectome will be or might be one of the key areas to develop. The US market has shown that telcos can be successful in the Connectome market, and that telcos can actually be making money through some of the energy parts of the Connectome market. So although they might start with security services around the subscription models, it's very likely that they will move towards connected heating, energy monitoring, and etc. So through this study, we found that there are really three kind of business models working today. The jury is out to see which one will be succeeding in the future. We think the extensive B2C offerings are the most likely to work, especially for committed telcos that are trying to capture and generate the monitored security market, but other business models might actually work as well. So finally, for you, the energy industry and others, there are actually opportunities for collaboration, and there are lots of examples, as we highlighted here, between utilities, product manufacturers, telcos, and others. So just to give you a bit of background on where this report can be available for. So at Deltaee, we have a subscription research service called the Connectome service, where we constantly bring up new material highlighting what's happening in the market on specific topics. So we provide around 5, 6, 7 reports per year on that. We also highlight what's happening in the market at a European level, which are the key product manufacturers, what are the key products that people like to buy, which sales channels are being used, and which countries are more dominating than others. And we also do this on bottom-up analysis, country by country, in most of the key European markets. We provide our subscribers with news brief, with private webinars such as this, with more insights. We have a Connectome Summit that helps people do some networking and really understand what's going on. And finally, we really help companies make sense of all these materials to make sure they understand what it means for their particular business and how they can use that to make decisions. So we're often on the phone, by email, visiting clients to help do that. And the range of users are very varied, from the innovation, marketing, BD, strategy, etc. So this research can be used as a way to make decisions, but also as a way to educate your colleagues if you don't really have time to tell them what's happening in the market, and if you don't have the material to do so. So I won't go through all the deliverables we'll do in the future, but some of the areas we'll work on are linked to the telcos and the security areas. We are currently working on the piece where we try to understand what kind of security models will be successful in the future, how monitored security is being used in Europe, what kind of companies are looking at this, and how this will impact the energy industry. I think that's important. We will also do a bunch of other reports on topics that we find our subscribers find really interesting. So if you are interested in hearing more about the research, please feel free to contact us about this. We're also happy to share some snippets every now and then with you. So feel free to get in touch with us. So that's it for the webinar today. As I said, this webinar will be made available on YouTube. We will share the link with you. If you want the slides, feel free to get in touch with us. If you ask questions, and there are many questions actually that we haven't answered, we will get back to you and try to answer these questions. We might give you a ring to see to have your views on what you think about the telcos, and if you found this useful. And yeah, it's just left to me to say thank you very much to everyone who attended this. Thank you, Matti. Thank you, Pierrick, for taking the time to be on this webinar. And I hope you found it really useful. So we'll try to catch you with up next time. And on that note, we will be at the Smart Home Summit in 2 weeks in London. So if you want to set up a meeting there, feel free to do so, to drop us a note. Thank you very much, everyone, and have a good rest of the afternoon. Bye-bye.